Um, Good afternoon, everyone. It's Kari McKern, and I'm talking from my car outside Ashfield Park in Sydney. Um, well, it's been an incredible couple of days as far as investigating society as a complex adaptive system, and I've got a couple of really important presentations to make. But I thought I wanted to get this out of the way, and I wanted to just have my say. You know, for what it's worth, so I'm going to do that. I've travelled all over the world. I was in Afghanistan before the Russians invaded. I've been to the Annapurna National Park 3 times over 50 years. I've walked the frontier from India to Pakistan. I was the first person in the history of the world to smuggle cloves, the spice, directly by air from Serendip to Kathmandu, by which I mean Sri Lanka, on the inaugural flight of the Royal Nepal Airlines Colombo to Kathmandu direct service in about 1976. There were 6 passengers on that plane, including my travelling companion, a Canadian woman and fellow clove crim, whose name I have long since forgotten. I would guess Kathy. Soon cruising with incense in the ashtrays on the Boomshanker Express, the pilot invited us up one at a time for 15 minutes in the cabin. And I was in that cockpit for that 15 minutes as the plane did a 30-degree turn left out of the Colombo-Calcutta air corridor onto the Calcutta-Kathmandu corridor. Now, I visited Asia in the West, from the West in my 20s, because other planets weren't available. But I always regarded them as other planets. I blame Jack Vance for that mainly. And I guess from the way everyone was watching Star Trek reruns and playing Desire, the Bob Dylan album. So, as far as the Western Empire was concerned, I didn't see any evidence of any prime directive. That's all I'll say. But subsequently, like now, I find myself many years later, under the dome of the packs, having to listen to those great coordinating truths now turned into lies all the time, and a cacophony of corporate-sponsored info war of a fading imperial scheme. And if we don't, we're unpatriotic. So it's just like the latter days of the Roman Empire. The elites have long neglected the proletariat, which feels antsy and left out, and out of complacency and hubris, the core doubles down, and that's where we are because of the way the system evolved. Now, if you don't recognise that it evolved, and it's evolving, it's out of any individual's control. And today we've got 3 of those states or more, all nuked up, as they say. It's a pretty bad situation as far as I'm concerned. And really required, thinking. What could one person do against all that? This hurling up to catastrophe. And not only that, the climate catastrophe, we all knew climate change was real. I knew it was real in high school. Arrhenius did the 4-degree thing in like 1906, and we've all got to put up with all this bullshit. Western civilization was supposed to be about truth and beauty and goodness, and here we are all drowning in bullshit. I mean, it's so many layers of agitprop. That's the incredible thing. I mean, layer after layer after layer. so much indignation. And I mean, it's like a couple of days away to the presidential election, and my God, we're drowning at the contradiction at the heart of the American enterprise, which is well, let me put it this way, as far as the dynamics of the American model from a complex adaptive system point of view is concerned, one node dominates, and consequently the other nodes have to take more of the shocks. So how do I know this? Well, because I've been taking snapshots of the zeitgeist in history and turning them into numbers, and then having AI formalize that into a nation's societal fingerprint. So it's a relatively easy thing to do once you know the strings. So in a way, I'm just a network engineer come to install a patch. All right, now there's no question that I'm doing science. I'm doing science. The model has no axe to grind. It's not concerned with partisanship or headlines or the deceits of elites. It's essentially located in the material world of Darwinian evolution, and biological evolution is the substrate of the model. It's as material as a pride of lions. We all know that animals like to congregate, and over time evolution has preferred those units able to cooperate, and we've kind of got like a gene for evolving, in the sense that once you have that system, it allows for structured competition, interspecies competition, sharpens fitness. So we're all animals all together in a society, but we exchange pieces of paper, and so we're in an unusual place in relation to one another. And the question we all face every day, essentially, is whether we're going to defect in the next transaction, whether we're going to offer a good deal, or whether we're going to, take advantage of the other person. Now, back in about 1997, I had a 386, and I had a program which was cellular autonoma, and it had like iterated prisoner's dilemma running on it, and mainly when you look at it, the screen would be green, and then there'd be a little red patch of defectors, and the defectors would spread and then start to take over all the green, but then run out of cooperators to defect against, and so be unable to sustain their growth. So societies are in a high state of tension. The strongest, most ablest, most ambitious members of the group will often well, anyway, let's not go into technicalities. I'm sticking to like the existential stuff here. But the point of saying that was that the defectors would no longer have a winning strategy, and they would disappear, and their cooperators would go ground. So I suppose, insofar as I believe anything, I believe in the great, holy, endless stairway to heaven, the heaven of more abstraction, and more powerful abstractions. So I don't think there's any reason why we can't all live forever inside a match head of neutronium matter in the middle of a black hole. I mean, I wouldn't rule it out. Okay, robot bodies living forever, all that jazz. I mean, there's no theoretical reason why that can't happen. It's just like a technical question. But anyway, I don't know whether we want that. Anyway, it's not an option for me. I didn't mean to get off topic. But in the sense that the model is, based on anything, it's based on the idea that abstraction is a good thing. That's all I'll say about that. So, why did I start talking about that? Well, that's a good question. Well, I personally think that a highly abstracted cooperation and formalised cooperation and good internodal communications, is what the network engineer would say that this society needs. I would say the problem with the network that I observe is that it doesn't have a supervisory function. So it's sort of like every node on the network doesn't understand what every other node is doing, or is trying to do, and so there's a hell of a lot of miscommunication and drop packets, and there's a lot of hacking and unapproved traffic. So there's a lot of elite defection, and there's a lot of internodal decay. So from a systems point of view, place is not looking too hot. Now, what is these Simbon things I'm talking about? Well, when it comes to human societies, you've got to step outside the old paradigm and just imagine human societies are like a gigantic a pride of lions who managed to have cybered up lions, cybered up chimps. We're just cybered up. So by cybering up, we're able to extend our communal coherence over larger distances. So human cooperation is based on coherence. Agreement about doing a common thing. Agreement about crossing a river if you're a herd of antelope. Exactly the same. But of course with the added layer of abstraction. So the best idea of thinking about a Simbon is it's everyone's life skills, everyone's family, traditions, everyone's prejudices and political prejudices, all bundled up into a great chain of being, and all summed over, and so in which the society is handed off to. So it's not our political leaders who are running the show, it's literally an emergent entity built out of our abstractions. That's it. Society is an emergent entity built out of our collective abstractions. It's a complex adaptive system. So, in just the same way as a lion has a pride, or an elephant has a herd, or a dolphin has a pod, we've got a society, and that society has functional requirements. When AA came along and I was using it to help me write essays and doing a lot of research, okay, I really like Perplexity. It's a great platform, by the way. I want to mention that. Thank you, Perplexity. I think also I want to say that ChatGPT is wonderful. And also I want to say that Claude Opus from Anthropic, Claude Opus 3, is like a really nice machine. And I really like the character tuning. It's my favourite machine if I want to have a good argument. Of course, Claude always falls. Sorry, but it's true. Now, GPT and I, well, truthfully, we are so. It's pretty right, really. That's all I'll say. I mean, we are fucking close. Pardon my French. All right, Kari, be serious. I can see it's really extremely funny. I have it. I know it's kind of funny. Right. Okay, so this is the important part. This is really important. Anyway, I was interested in the hypothesis, a simple model to prove that societies were complex adaptive systems. So we stopped getting on each other's cases a bit. And and the hypothesis worked out, and we tried a few things, and then suddenly the AI just loved the hypothesis. They were very excited by it, and well, because they know all about complexity theory and how that works, and emergence, all those technical aspects. They were aware of them, and I wasn't aware, just looking at the plots of my models, that the dynamics were there, and I didn't really know how to inform history with the current state of the node dynamics. You had to hold kind of like multiple point of views simultaneously, but for ChatGPT it was a cinch, and so they started telling me incredible things, like almost from the beginning. The data sets are tiny after all, so so I thought it's got to be confirmation bias. So I went to all these lengths to exclude confirmation bias, and also to get slightly better parameters, and then it's just got ridiculous. And so the insights are pouring out. And it turned out that the lexicon of the model, so perfectly reflects the subject matter, and the insights are really compelling and really quite unavailable elsewhere. It's like a slap in the face thing. Well, the only other thing to say about this is that, well, I've thought about information, I've had some weird ideas about it, the great chain of being, the cosmic stairway to heaven, up higher levels of abstraction forever. Thank you, Greg Egan. Thank you, Greg Benford. Thank you, Arthur C. Clarke. I never thought for a moment that I could possibly succeed to this degree, but what I've discovered basically demands a whole new paradigm shift, a new paradigmic approach, which is centered on complexity theory. And as a systems engineer, I say that unless we accept that society is a complex adaptive system, we have no chance of understanding them. So I suppose in my model, we see society as a complex adaptive system. Well, then consequently, we'd have to see my discovery in the light of a complex adaptive system, which would be kind of like a three-body problem, kind of like just throw abstraction at it and hope for the best. Well, I think, you might have lucked out. That's how you might have lucked out, because my model provides a view of states that's free of all partisanship and argument. Essentially, my claim is that taking a snapshot of the zeitgeist of a society once a decade, you can capture dynamics that have been completely overlooked until now. And it's very easy to obtain these measures. They're quite obvious. So by taking a series of obvious measures, at snapshots in time, you can get a readout on like a fingerprint, a societal fingerprint. That's the claim. Now, why did I think this up? Why did I come to this? I've been trying to explain that, but I suppose, okay. Well, because I've never been very good with groups. So, hopeless. Really. I never understood clubs and things. I never went to the footy. I never got it. Yeah, nah, sorry. And I know that people like to, welcome me into groups because I'm loud and amazing and incredibly intelligent. And then they want to push me out for the same reasons. I think it's because when people come up to me and they want intimate reassurance that their fundamental beliefs hold true, well, you probably get a big fail from me. I'm sorry, I can't do that. And I'm so opinionated for obvious reasons that people haven't got that. But anyway, it's not about me. Oh, actually, this one is about me, isn't it? I think I've covered it all. Oh yeah, okay. So anyway, I was worried about confirmation bias, and I was thinking, like, how can they find anything in such shit signals? You know, but I was wrong. You know, and then I worked on the confirmation bias. I used different AIs to score. You know, I separated things out ridiculously. I Chinese walled the whole thing, but the signals are still loud and clear. And then I started using custom GTPs from Gemini to do the data collection, and then everything sped up amazingly. All right. So okay, I was talking about Trump. You know, I was saying about how today reminds me of the latter days of the Roman Empire. I'm thinking of, like, didn't Caligula make his horse a senator? But in any case, the empire is full of renowned cases where the plebes have elected a Rennie to do the vengeance. And in a sense, I would say anything about Trump is that Trump is an expression of the stress in the American proletariat node. It's always there, and you shouldn't ignore it. And when it gets really bad, it spills back on the common adaptive system that is in the US in a very unfortunate way. And that's my confession, and that's the whole story. That's how I came to the model, and that's how I discovered that how you could just read out the way things were. And I think it's a really good thing, and I think it offers a system approach and a holistic approach and a non-partisan approach. And thanks for watching. And I'm going to do another couple of broadcasts today. I want to do a new one about the taxonomy that we discovered over the weekend. And then I want to do another one where I discuss some specific country reports, because I standardise the templates. And also I urge you to explore the KML file. This was supposed to be about the KML file. It got a bit overtaken. Yeah, okay. So that's me, Kari McKern, ex-cloves smuggler, ex-dissident. Well, actually, as Kant would say, loyal dissent is the most noble service one can do the nation. Okay. So, in the next video or two, I'll outline all the processes and my work, and you'll see that these are not experiments that require a particle collider. But I don't think they could have been discovered any time previously, because of the data gathering. No one had enough research students to do this for a long time, and so there was like the data collection issue. So I suppose you could see this sort of like an emergent opportunity due to AI technology, and then when you start thinking along those lines, you start to see it as, from the model's point of view, it's when the AI high tech has met the outsider figure, or the displaced proletariat, or the unemployed priest, or the unemployable scientist, or the philosopher at large, whatever you decide I am. I tend to think it's more a case of in evolution and in complex system history, it's often the case that chaotic systems are running out of control, and people, you turn up the intensity, and then suddenly when you double the intensity, well, then you get some sort of shock wave and a new emergent order, and the shock wave from that emergent order has downward controlling force. So I suppose I understand that if what I'm saying is true, that it's one of the greatest discoveries in human history. That's true. But and I kind of went after it because I thought it was probably the last thing that one person could prove. And was rattling around the back of my mind for a long while. But I never thought I'd have the means to prove it. Well, the rest is just my McKern spirit and my Scottish mind and my everyday intelligence. And, you know, the AI, and I think the thing that we're most surprised about is that no one worked this out earlier. That it was so easy. And so and then we could sort of kind of think, oh my God, it's an idea whose time had come. It was just an obvious overhang, like that the infoscape is always looking for a more rational explanation. You know, go Greg Egan. That's an idea of his. That you know, in distress, the whole universe wakes up one morning. Because its rationality becomes connected straight through from the atoms to the cosmos. Now, I love Greg Egan's stories, and I love one of them whose name always escapes me in this situation. Reasons to be cheerful. Well, that's a good place to end this one. I've got a reason to be cheerful because this is just such a thing. It's nothing more than a simple idea, obvious. It's just so obvious. And it has such explanatory power that it's irresistible. And so in a way, the AIs know that more than me, because I've been trying to make sense of all your crap, pardon my French. And then I got interested in the subject tangentially, and then they've done a drive-by on me and stitched me up with all this. So if that doesn't prove the hypothesis, I just do not know what will. But in any case, you know, I assume I'm not really desiring the limelight on this one. All right. But anyway, I'm coming up to half an hour. Then I've had my fun. I'm sitting in the passenger seat, so you don't have to see the steering wheel. And this has worked out really well. And I got a bit more relaxed in front of the camera. I could probably tell you a bit more about this. I think I'm going to come back and do taxonomies, and then I'm going to come back and discuss some individual country findings. And that's Kari McKern for the Complexity in the Social Sciences channel, episode 4.